It's tips time. Welcome to Training Intervention Program for Behavior Change. Tips for Behavior Change. I am your psychologist and behavior specialist Geraldine Dowd. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click the notification bell. It's Child's Month. We're still in the month of May, and May is celebrated as Child's Month across Jamaica. So, what has been happening in Jamaica for the last week or two? We have some sad news as it relates to our children. First, we have a 6-year-old that was murdered by his 15-year-old cousin. We have a student of Lennon High School collapsed and died in Maypen, Clarendon. And we have two children that were left at home and they perished in a fire. So I want to talk again about how we support our children, what we ought to do as parents to care, protect, and be there for our children. Now, when we look at the 6-year-old that was killed by his cousin, it is alleged that the cousin had a gun that accidentally went off and killed the 6-year-old. Now, when we look at parental supervision, what exactly is going on in that family system? How can a 15-year-old get access to a firearm? Where did he get it from? Why was he playing or had the firearm in the presence of a 6-year-old child? Who was supervising this family system? Who was supervising both children? And so these are some questions that we may ask ourselves as we think about parenting and our responsibility to our children as we celebrate Child's Month. And then we move on to Lennon High School student. Now, this is really sad that this young man collapsed in the town of Maypen, and it is alleged that instead of persons offering help, they were taking pictures or videoing the situation with the young man. So instead of them rushing him to the hospital, everybody was concerned about taking pictures. It caused us now to think, what is happening in our society? Such cruelty, such insensitivity. Where are we as a society? We are not at the place anymore where we can offer help. All we can do is take pictures to post on social media. Then we need to ask ourselves some questions again. How accountable are we towards people's well being, and how accountable are we towards our children? Then we move on to these two children that perish in a fire. We ask the question again, is this an act of neglect? Where were the parents or the parent? And these are questions we ask. What happened? Why were the children left on their own? And so when we look at all of these events, we can clearly see again that our children are not being monitored properly and our children are not being given the right support system. In each of these events, there was a lack of support system and it is evident, right? Now, what is grief like for these family members who are grieving the loss of these children? For the 6-year-old, for the Lennon High School student, for the children that perished in a fire, the two children, all of these parents would have experienced traumatic grief, or what I would call an unanticipatory grief, because they didn't anticipate this event at all. And so they are traumatized. And if they do not get the right intervention to deal with the grief, they are going to, of course, experience chronic grief, where there will be a deep yearning for their children as they yearn and search for the child, as they grieve the child. These are some of the things that will happen to them. They will have sleepless nights, they may not be able to eat, you know, they maybe have some evidence of hallucination where they think that they are actually seeing the child or hearing the child, and they can go through again a period of depression. The question may be asked, is grief different for the parents based on the events? And I would say yes and no. It doesn't matter the age when a child dies. I mean, losing a child for any parent is considered one of the worst kind of bereavement. Losing a child is really inconsistent with life cycle. You know, it is the hope that children would bury their parents and not vice versa, not parents burying their child. And so when a child dies, the hope and dreams that the parents have for these children dies also. And so it depends again on the attachment that the parents have to these children. The grief can vary, but grieving for a child, most parents experience similar similar pain, similar and they may go through similar emotional events. You know, they may experience similar emotional symptoms and similar physical symptoms. And again, it depends on their attachment to their child. So yes, grief can be different and it can vary based on the age of the child and based on the circumstances of the death. But I want to encourage us again as parents and as a nation that we should be very mindful of our role and responsibility to our children. We are here to protect the future. Whitney Houston says in her song, I believe the children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride. As a nation, we have a responsibility to protect the future, to be there for the future. As parents, we have a responsibility to create a family system that will show support for our children. And so I want to offer my condolences to all the parents and the family who have lost these children during Child's Month. And I would hope that we now take an evaluation of how we continue to treat our children and how we continue to lend support to our children. Please remember to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell.